A judge has recently dismissed Trump's claims that the search warrant executed at Mar-A-Lago was invalid.
Judge Aileen Cannon, the judge in charge of the Mar-A-Lago case, has long been accused of titling the case in favor of Donald Trump. But in a shocking turn of events, she has issued a devastating order that could have far-reaching consequences for the former president's legal woes. Judge Cannon, the Florida district judge overseeing Donald Trump's classified documents trial, has been subjected to a series of scrutinies over a series of controversial rulings on the case.
Whose rulings in the case so far have repeatedly drawn scrutiny and rebukes and reversals by higher courts.
For context, since 2022, Donald Trump has been involved in a slew of trials, one of which involves his refusal to return the classified documents in his possession after leaving the presidential office. This refusal led to the FBI launching a search and seizure in the Mar-A-Lago residence of Trump, where they seized 103 classified documents.
The FBI did seize 103 classified records up to top secret level found inside the office and storage room. The inventory notes the highly restricted documents had been mixed in with ordinary things, magazines, gifts, and clothes.
Following this search, the former president took to the internet to falsely declare that President Joe Biden ordered the FBI to use deadly force during their search at the Mar-A-Lago residence. Trump also claimed in a fundraising email that this meant the FBI and the Biden administration were locked and loaded, ready to take me out.
Former President Donald Trump has made some serious allegations against President Joe Biden. Shocker. On social media and in fundraising email, Donald Trump said that President Biden wanted to have him assassinated. The Republicans' campaign email said, quote, "Joe Biden was locked and loaded, ready to take me out and put my family in danger," end quote.
Meanwhile, Trump wasn't at the Mar-A-Lago residence during the search. He was at Trump Tower in New York City, according to a person familiar with the situation. His son, Eric Trump, reportedly informed him of the raid. Also, the deadly force phrase in the FBI's search warrant is instead a standard line to include for such documents while laying out the protocols for search operations. The same standard FBI policy was used in the searches of President Joe Biden's homes and offices in a separate classified document investigation. Following the seizure of these documents, Jack Smith, a special counsel in the US Department, charged Trump with 37 felonies in June 2023. But since then, the trial, which was scheduled for May, has faced several gridlocks courtesy of the judge in charge, Judge Cannon. Judge Cannon has been under fire for delaying the trial, almost ensuring that it will not take place before the November election.
The trial in another one of Trump's criminal cases is now on hold indefinitely. Another huge headline in terms of Trump legal news. U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon, a Trump appointee, canceled the May 20th start date for that trial in Florida on charges that Trump illegally retained classified government documents after leaving the White House in 2021.
She cited significant issues around classified evidence that would need to be worked out before the federal criminal case goes to a jury. Instead of moving the case forward quickly to a trial by jury, Judge Cannon has spent a lot of time in court listening to lawyers argue over defense motions that make what experts say are long-shot arguments to dismiss charges, exclude evidence, or otherwise attack the prosecution case. For example, she recently held a legal saga in her Fort Pierce courtroom in Florida, where she presided over a day-long hearing on the question of whether Smith's appointment was proper under the Constitution and his office funding. This is an argument similar to the one that was rejected by other judges when applied to special counsel Robert Mueller, who investigated Trump's ties to Russia, and Delevod Weiss, who is prosecuting Hunter Biden. However, in a recent court ruling, Judge Cannon swept aside Trump's claims that FBI officials misled the court to obtain permission to search his Mar-A-Lago estate.
A judge has recently dismissed Trump's claims that the search warrant executed at Mar-A-Lago was invalid.
In a detailed 11-page ruling, Judge Cannon dismissed Trump's claims that the FBI misled a federal magistrate judge to obtain the search warrant, deeming his arguments largely without merit. But despite rejecting Trump's claims about the facts in the search warrant, Cannon agreed to schedule an evidentiary hearing on 2 of Trump's other efforts to toss key pieces of prosecutors' cases. One of these cases involves Trump's request to overturn a decision made by Judge Beryl Howell, the federal judge in Washington, D.C., who oversaw the initial grand jury proceedings in the case. Last year, Judge Howell allowed prosecutors to obtain evidence and testimony from Trump's attorney, Evan Corcoran. Judge Howell had ruled that the information was not protected by attorney-client privilege, as it likely constituted evidence of a crime. Judge Cannon has agreed to re-examine this determination, stating that it is her obligation to do so. Cannon also said Trump can call witnesses and introduce other evidence to try to establish that the search warrant issued by a federal magistrate judge in Florida didn't describe clearly enough what the FBI was permitted to seize. Prosecutors have raised concerns that holding an evidentiary hearing on these matters could essentially turn into a mini-trial, where key witnesses would be subjected to cross-examination before the actual trial. In response, Cannon wrote that there is a difference between a resource-wasting and delay-producing mini-trial on the one hand, and an evidentiary hearing geared to adjudicating the contested factual and legal issues. By continuing to require hours of court time for nearly every matter of dispute, Judge Cannon, Trump's appointee, has helped Trump plan to delay the trial until after the election. While she says she is merely trying to ensure fairness, her actions have raised questions among legal scholars. Lawyers usually avoid criticizing a judge directly, but in the Trump documents case, they're speaking out more freely. They're saying that Judge Cannon's delays are unusual and causing problems. Some are even questioning whether she's not experienced enough, not competent, or biased in her handling of the case. Critics from the left have been especially harsh in their criticism. There's nothing about the way she has handled the case that is normal, that is usual, and that makes a degree of sense, except that she's just so inexperienced, or second, that she's just not confident, or third, that she is so biased towards Trump. Nancy Gertner, a retired federal district court judge appointed by President Clinton, said. Also, a retired U.S. District Court judge for the Southern District of New York, Shira Scheindlin, accused her of slow-walking the case.
Was this the right call? Well, never the right call. She's been slow walking this, as somebody again said tonight, for a long, long time. She has 8 undecided motions. She could have ruled on half of them by now, but she doesn't rule. She puts it all off. Then she says there are many complex issues regarding classified documents, and that's true. But if she had done her job, there wouldn't be 8 left. There might be 3, and she could set a trial date.
Speaking of experience, the Trump case is by far her most high-profile to date. She was working as an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida when she was appointed to the bench by the Trump administration in 2020. She had presided over 4 criminal trials as a federal judge before taking on Trump's case. Moving on, Judge Cannon also refused to grant the prosecution team's request for a gag order against Trump over claims that the search at his Mar-A-Lago residence was a tactic by President Biden and his team to kill him.
In Florida, a federal judge has rejected the request from special counsel Jack Smith. He requested a gag order against Donald Trump. Let's bring in CNN's Caitlin Polans. Caitlin, tell us more about this ruling, which came just moments ago.
She turned down the gag order request after delivering a sharp warning to prosecutors that they needed to make more concerted efforts at dialogue with Trump's counsel before bringing disputes to court. The prosecutor also requested that the identities of FBI agents connected to the case be withheld from the public, but she refused. One of the prosecutors, Prosecutor David Harbuck, I told Cannon that the remarks from Trump about the search warrant from the FBI are the latest example of irresponsible and dangerous rhetoric from the former president that could result in action from his supporters. Harbuck cited an attempted attack on the FBI's office in Ohio 3 days after agents carried out their search for classified documents at Mar-A-Lago as one such example.
That's what Judge Aileen Cannon just said moments ago. The prosecutors had gone to her on Friday in the evening, right before the holiday week, asking her to put limitations on what Donald Trump could say because he was out there talking misleadingly about the FBI policies around the use of deadly force, a policy that was standard and in place for that search. but Trump was trying to say that he was in danger because of it. That was not true. So the prosecutors wanted to protect the proceedings, protect their own officers, and have a gag order. They felt that it was a very dangerous situation, so they went to the judge.
But instead of addressing the concern, Cannon asked the prosecutor to give examples of the alleged dangerous comments and the risk to public safety.
Yeah, Jake, so prosecutors from the special counsel's office at the Justice Department are not going to be able to limit Donald Trump's speech about law enforcement who were part of that Mar-A-Lago search in August of 2022 at this time because they didn't follow the proper procedure. That's what Judge Aileen Cannon just said moments ago.
Feeling exasperated with her actions at one point, he noted, "I've got one reason out so far." Cannon snapped back that she did not appreciate his tone, prompting Harback to later apologize. Judge Cannon's decisions in the Trump case have been questioned from the start. Even before Trump was charged, she appointed a special master to review evidence, which was an unusual move. A panel of 3 judges, all appointed by Republicans, including 2 by Trump, overturned her decision. It was that incident that reportedly led Chief Judge Cecilia Altanaga, a George W. Bush appointee, to suggest Cannon hand off the case once the charges came before her. So, what's your take? Do you think Judge Cannon is delaying the trial to favor Trump or due to a lack of experience? Let's know in the comments section.